What's up, guys? This video is for you that think you want to buy a sawmill. You're considering it, and maybe you just can't quite get the motivation that you need, or get the information that'll set your mind at ease one way or the other. And this is the video that I'm trying to do to help you. This is before you buy a sawmill. Watch this video. Okay. All right. I bought a sawmill in 2020. All right, I bought a Wood-Mizer LT35 HD. If you see it, oh, wait a minute, it's not here. I don't have it anymore, and that'll be another video. But so you want to buy a portable sawmill, not just a Wood-Mizer, but any brand, and you've been considering some things about it. I have experience. Sawmills are fun. It's a lot of work. It's very satisfying. It was super satisfying for me to go and cut down a tree, bucket into logs, skid it to the mill, put it on the mill, and start breaking this log down and making usable lumber that you could sell or build something. And it's just fun. It was my personality. It really spoke to. Okay, but it's not for everybody. It's not for everybody, and I have some things for you to think about to maybe help you make your decision. All right, so some stuff I want to throw out at you. First thing, it may sound like a silly question, but is there an actual need for it? Do you have a real need for this sawmill, or is it just a want? Is this going to be a hobby? How much money are you going to put into this hobby? Is it? Are you being honest with yourself? Are you being real with yourself about it? Okay. If it's an expensive hobby you want, knock yourself out. All right. What plans do you have? I bought my sawmill for the sole purpose of building a house. All right. I had logs available, and I wanted to build a house where we're at now, and we did it. We did it. And after we built the house, I had plans of starting a business with it, and that may be your plan. That may be your sole plan of starting a business with it. If you have plans for a sawing business, what are those plans? Around here we've got southern pine. That's what the majority of the lumber mills out in my area put out. That's the majority of the products that are available to me. Of course, there's hardwood, but not as much. But pine timber is the most available product. And there's a mill in my town that I don't know how many millions of board feet they produce every year. But my whole point of this is you're not going to take a portable sawmill and take down a big mill like that. You're not going to compete with commercial milling. Okay, so what's your plan? Do you have a niche, however you say that, a specialized area that you want to go into? For example, well, when I had my mill, I had high hopes here of starting to mill cypress lumber, because an opportunity I thought was coming up for me to be able to buy cypress logs and mill cypress lumber. And cypress lumber is pretty expensive in my area, and so I kind of saw that as an opportunity, but it didn't come to fruition. The supply did not come through. Okay, so that was off the table. All right. So my point of all that is, think about your business plan. Is it viable? And you may already know that it is. Look in your area. After COVID hit, and some the COVID money was coming out and everything, it seemed like that the mill ownership in my area increased by probably 500%, maybe more than that, right? So not only was I coming into a tough business to start with, and then it got crowded. So that made me take a step back from my business. So back to the original question: is there an actual need for it? Do you are you just trying something, or do you have a good plan, or is it's strictly just a hobby, and you're okay with spending whatever amount you want to spend because the meals can be expensive, um, and having it sit out in your yard or under a shed or in a barn, and you're not using it for months on end, and then the upkeep, on the engine and all the moving parts and stuff. It's just consider if there is an actual need. Be real with yourself, okay? Because I've got wants. I've got a boat sitting under the shed right now that I'm trying to sell that I just don't use like I thought I would, and it happens. There's nothing wrong with it, but just be honest. All right, it may save you a little bit of grief. Okay. The next thing I want you to consider is the physical demands of owning a sawmill. So there's an app you can get on your phone. It's called Log Weight Pro. Log Weight Pro. I'll try to find a picture of it and put on the caption here. It tells you the weight per foot of a certain diameter log. You can put all the information in, and you can choose the species because that does matter. Hardwood versus soft, pine versus oak. Okay, you get the picture. But you would be surprised how much these logs weigh. If you're not familiar with it, go and get that app and just play around with it. If you're looking at sawing some 16-inch diameter, 12, 10, 16 foot logs, look at how much it weighs. How are you going to handle it? Okay. And not only handling the log, but the green lumber. That green lumber that is filled with sap and moisture, it weighs. Okay. If you're trying to figure that out, go to your local hardware store or big box store, or whatever, and go find the pressure treated lumber that's treated, okay, and full of moisture, like a deck board or something, and just pick it up, and that'll give you a pretty good idea. But imagine doing that, okay, and you're going to have to slide lumber. You're going to have to pick it up, stack it. 100% here. Hear me when I say this. It's a back killer. If you have back problems already, have a plan for you not to touch any of that. Okay. When I first bought my mill, I did not have a front end loader at all. All I had was a a skid tractor. All right. So all it did was pull the log to the mill, and then I could roll it up on the lift arms, and that was it. Everything else I touched by hand. All right. So about a year into owning my mill, I was laying in my bed, and I was laying flat on my back, and my back was not just sore, but it was hurting. And that started my trip down my back pain journey. So I'm just about a month off of back injections to try to help my back pain. And I've done some dumb things in my life, lifted some things that I shouldn't have, and kind of strained my back. But pulling the green lumber, and I was pulling the green lumber off the mill, stacking it on the trailer, just flat stacking it, and then we were taking it to another location and stacking it on sticks for the lumber to dry. So I was double handling this lumber, and it killed me. The twisting motion of pulling the lumber, it killed my back. Okay, so understand the physical demands of your mill setup. Okay, and like I said, I had a fully hydraulic mill. So when I got the log on the mill, it had a hydraulic log dog and log manipulation controls. Okay, I didn't have to roll the log. If you don't have hydraulics on your mill, you're going to have to take a cant hook or something and roll this log on the mill. I mean, you're going to have to physically move it yourself. So look up how much these logs weigh. Think about what you're going to have to do with your setup. If you're planning on buying a fully manual mill that's on the ground, and you're going to pull a log off a trailer or something with a little tractor and scoot it up on your mill, you're handling everything. Okay, if the only piece of equipment you have is the mill, it's going to be tough. It is. I don't know what your plans are, how you're gonna accomplish what you want to do, but I'm just putting a warning out there to you. Okay. So that brings me to my next question of how much you're wanting to invest. All right. Um, you got to think about what's happening. You got to be able to handle the logs um, before you get them to the mill. I started out with just a skid tractor. All right. Later on, I did buy a 75 horse tractor with a front end loader, and I wish that I'd bought it with the mill. I couldn't have at the time, um, but it would have been ideal. So, getting, the whole log to mill logistics, how are you doing it? All right. Do you have a tractor that's big enough to handle it? Do you have a skid steer? A log loader? I know people that buy older log loaders that use them to handle the logs. Okay. Um, Knowing what I know, it's hard for me to recommend having a sawmill and not having a tractor or a skid steer or something with a front end loader. Okay. Not only handling the logs, but the green lumber. My as I said earlier, my back trouble come from really pulling green lumber, right, and stacking green lumber. When I had a front end loader on the tractor, it changed the game for me, and it would have saved my back. Okay, I was able to put the forks out in front of the mill and just throw the green lumber on it. I wasn't pulling or anything. I just flop it over on the forks, and then I could take it and set it down right in front of where I wanted to stack this green lumber, and I could just throw it off. And I wasn't having to pull it and physically carry everything. I was just kind of, working it over on the sticks. So I cannot recommend anybody getting a mill without having some support equipment like that. And that brings me down to the mill. Now, I cannot recommend most people getting a mill that doesn't have hydraulics. All right, your log lift arms, the log dog that maneuvers your log around, the log turner, um, all of these things. The mill I had hydraulic toe boards, so you could level out a log to get it centered on the mill for you to start your first cut. Um, I just I didn't see any way around it before I bought the mill. Um, and I especially don't now. But people try to talk themselves into a manual mill just because of the price. And I know several people that have bought a manual mill, and it's not too long you see it for sale. Okay, so if you're serious about milling, think about that extra $8,000-10,000. Okay, and if it's in the cards, go for it. I mean, if it's even remotely a possibility, get the hydraulics. Okay. My next point: do you have enough space to have a sawmill operation? I've seen people try to put these mills in their backyard, and it doesn't take them long to fill up the space that they have. And then what do? Okay, so think about all these things. So your sawmill itself has a footprint. It's going to sit in a certain spot. You need room behind it and on both ends and in front of it. So I mean, it needs to have plenty of space. All right, on one side of the mill, you won't be bringing logs in. You're only going to bring logs in on one side, but on the other side is where your sawdust is going to come off usually. All right, so you got to think about that. You have byproducts that come off of the logs. Sawdust is one, and you wouldn't think that a sawmill band, a blade, if you want to call it, um, that just has a 1/8 inch kerf would put out that much sawdust. But if you log 3 or 4 thousand board feet a day, you're going to have a pile of it, and you got to do something with it. It has to be dealt with. All right. Not only that, the slabs that come off of it, the first cuts that have the bark on it, maybe you have a plan for those. I burnt mine. I had a place that I could burn them. Not very many people wanted them, because it was mostly pine. If you're doing hardwood, you could probably cut that up and sell it for firewood. So you can have that for a plan. Log storage. You're going to want logs to put on this mill. If you have access to a lot of them, you're going to want to store them. Do you have room for that? Do you have room to stack lumber? Okay. I cut most of my lumber at 16. Some was, from 10 and up. I cut some 20-foot lumber. The mill I had was capable of it, but I didn't cut very much of it unless there was a need for it. So, you got a 4 or 5, maybe 6-foot wide bunk of lumber, 16 foot long. So you can only stack so high before it gets a little, sketchy. So you get out there and start milling, and you're putting out all this lumber. Where are you going to put it? Are you putting it on a customer's trailer? Some customers do that. You can negotiate that in a price. Give me your trailer, I'll put your lumber on it. There's a lot of different ways to set up businesses. The custom sawing is what I got into a little bit after I built my house. And I would actually go to someone's property. They had some logs set up there, and the price that I gave them was just to mill the lumber and just flat stack it. I didn't stick it or anything. If you start sticking lumber and stacking it where it can dry properly, air dry, then you're getting into a lot of work, and it needs to be put in the price, because that regular price just for coming to somebody's place and sawing, whether it's $300, $1,000, or $500, or whatever it is, I'm not saying you're doubling your work, but you're adding at least another third to the work of just sawing when you start sticking. And it's the most taxing of anything you do with the mill. So consider all that, but consider your setup and where you're going to put this mill, and really think about it. Think about having enough. I would, in my mind, as much space as the mill takes up, you need about 10 times that space to maneuver properly, I'm saying. All right. So that's my advice on that. But if you want a sawmill, you're serious about getting one, and you've established a need for it or a want, if it's just a hobby, go for it. I mean, I had a lot of fun doing it. Like I said, it's a lot of work, but it's very satisfying, And the most satisfying thing for me was being able to build our house, And if anybody is curious about any of that, let me know in the comments, and I'll answer any questions. I'll make another video if I have to, but it's something I don't regret. And I don't regret getting rid of my sawmill. If you want to know about that and how I come about that decision, drop a comment down there. Ask me what you want to know, because getting rid of the mill was an interesting decision, and I'd like to tell you how it ended up. So that's all I got. If y'all have any more questions about anything, leave a question or comment down there. Thanks for watching. I've been kind of scattered here lately. We had Bible school a week or two ago, and I've been trying to recover from that and get some other things caught up. But I'm going to try to get back to putting a video out every week. So thank you guys. God bless you.